I was recently contacted by the folks at AOMEI who asked me to do a review video of their Partition Assistant Standard Edition program, as well as the Backupper Standard 4.0.4 program. And in return for the review, they offered to give me one of the serial numbers for the Pro Edition, which you can see you can upgrade to. And after looking at both of the products, descriptions, and everything else, I decided, you know what, I'm going to do this because there actually are some good uses to the Pro program that I would like to have access to. And you know what, I decided to download it and get everything installed here and see what it was like. And after playing with it for a few days, I have to say it's actually a pretty neat little program. So I'll do two separate videos. This one's going to be on the Partition Assistant Standard Edition, and I'll show you what you actually do get for free, what it can do, and what it looks like, and what uses I've had it for. And they mentioned it is absolutely free for personal and commercial use, which is great. It's a benchmark-free hard disk partition software, and there are quite a bit of different tools in this thing. And I'm using it on Windows 10, but it's nice it works all the way down to Windows XP. And this is, again, the standard edition, which is the freeware version. Upgrade to Pro, you can see when we get to the bottom of this list here what Pro does. But it mentions some nice things like it migrates OSs to SSD. Well, what's great about that is you don't have to use, all these separate tools. Again, it's all built in one program. It does things like Windows to Go, which is basically where you can take a Windows installation and put it onto a USB drive and actually use it like a operating system to go, essentially, where you can boot off of from BIOS off of USB right to that operating system. So it's pretty neat. But mostly it's made for working with partitions, either changing them, deleting them, or so on and so forth, even extending them. So if you have one partition on a drive and you want to maybe cut it into two or something like that, you can certainly do so with this. And some of these features are obviously built right in the Windows, but some of them have some pretty convoluted ways to get to where they are, or even to get them to do what you want. And that's certainly something I've had experience with. And I'll show you what I mean. Certain things like, converting from one file system to another without losing data. I know right off the bat, usually when you do that, you can do it by formatting, but obviously you lose everything. So having a program that does that is pretty nice. And there's a big one here I'll show you in a second. You can see all the different operating systems and file systems it works on, which is nice. And it does support other systems other than what you use in a normal PC situation, which is good. And even does things with hybrid SSD, HDD systems. And, well, you can just get a lot of ideas from the specs here, but this is where the meat and potatoes to the argument between getting the standard and the Pro is. And you can see down here, we can get to some of these things. Allocate free space from one partition to another. You can't do that with the free one, but you can with the Pro. Here's my big one, and you guys know I had a video about this before for my frequent visitors. Converting dynamic disks to basic disk without data loss. That's a biggie. I've had several instances I could think of between myself and other people where we've ran into dynamic disks and had to convert them to basic and didn't have an easy way to do so. The Pro version of this definitely seems like it'd be a good idea just for that alone. Trust me on that. But there are some other nice things over here, partition alignment, other different stuff. Some of this might be more power user things than what a normal consumer would need, so maybe the free version will be fine for you. But just like I said, dynamic disk, if you're looking at this for any kind of professional situation, I would say look at this program for that alone. But yeah, so it's $44.95 right now, which isn't horrible. It includes lifetime free upgrades, anything with stuff like that I like, because it's a nice thing. There are other versions of this, but as they mentioned, there's a 90-day guarantee on it. All your orders are secure. This is always a good thing. And here's some of the things I'm mentioning. You can see that they have a Partition Assistance Professional and the other program, Backupper Professional, together in a box set, which you do save money, 30%. And if you decide to get a server edition, so if you're like me and you have a household with multiple computers and you can you're using a server to run all those computers and stuff like that, this is going to be the way to go for that. And then there's other ones you can look down here. We'll go into these later. There's technician uses and unlimited use and so on and so forth. And I like the technician version. There's actually Technician Plus, which includes server and the professional edition together in a package that you can actually use on any computer, pretty much anywhere, and make money off of it too. So if you're doing it in a computer repair shop, that's definitely really awesome. And yeah, so I'm going to get into this program in just a second here. I'll just quickly show you this over here. This is the other program, as I mentioned before. We'll get into this one in the second video. And then here's the system that they have. This is the Technician Suite. Now this, yeah, I know, you're going to look at this and say that's a lot. But if you're buying these as packages, if you get all three of these programs, it's a lot cheaper. But you're using this, like it says, can be installed unlimited PCs and servers within one company, allowed to provide profitable technical support. Now that's something like you're going to use this professionally. But then there's other ones. Here's like the Home User Edition, $50. You can get the for the Backupper $50 for here. If you bought a separate, as I mentioned, it was $44.95. But yeah, I thought for the price this doesn't seem so bad. Here's the Server Suite Edition. Obviously, there's going to be more professional need on the Server Edition, and this is the basic Technician one. They use it for enterprise uses. But this has the same verbiage here, but this one's just for PCs. You can't use it on servers, obviously. So you can see that's why you have a decrease in prices. So that's that. So you can get an idea of how all that looks. Now onto the program. I have it right here on my desktop. And I just wanted to show a couple other things. I'll come back to this in a second. But when you get into this program, it looks very familiar to people who know the disk management system that's built into Windows. And you can see right off the bat here, this shows you obviously how much space is left and how much you use on a visual basis. And up here it gives you some nice information on all the drives. Now this looks like this program here, which is the computer management program and specifically disk management. But you see, this bar doesn't actually show you what's left on it or anything. So right off the bat, this is a lot nicer to me than this is. Most of the other stuff it's the same. One thing I know this does, the blue bars will change color if it's dynamic or basic. These are obviously all basic drives, as you can see. And this one does have the same listing. Now you can see some I have here is GPT, some I have is MBR, Master Boot Record. And the other one's General Partition Table. But everything you need to do is right out here out in the open. There's nothing here you can do. All these other things is all relating to other computer management components, not disk management. So nothing over here will do any good for you. Over here you can go in, yeah, you can change drive letters, but see some things you can't access. Obviously you can delete volumes, you can do certain things, but once you set up a certain thing, like if I made this into a dynamic disk right now, I'm fine. But if I go back and try to convert it back to basic, I lose data, and I've done that before. With this other program, now granted you gotta buy it, but if you need to do that kind of stuff, you're going to buy this anyway. But you can go right in here and do it. I remember seeing it before. You can see there's these little icons here that have Pro right in front of it. Obviously, that's the only thing you can use in the Pro setting. Wiping partitions is nice. You can delete them, you can format them, but actually wiping it writes zeros to the drive. So if you're trying to do some kind of data destruction where you don't want people recovering your data, like you're getting rid of your computer or something like that, that's where you're going to use that option. So there's some definitely nice little things here. I have played with this for a few days, like I mentioned, so I did manage to change some things back and forth here, like changing one of these drives to the GPT from MBR, and I can convert that back if we want. We can rebuild it. There's no real need to. It doesn't matter with these drives. The one that matters the most is the main drive here, which is the boot drive. The rest of these are all for data storage. And obviously, YouTube videos take up a lot of room, so I have a drive dedicated just to that. But you get an idea from this. what I intend on doing is doing a really full review of this as I need things. So, for example, I have a drive that I do need to convert to dynamic, actually from dynamic back to basic. And my intention is once I get the code to unlock this, because I'm pretty sure I'm going to go with this program over the backup program, although that one has some nice features too. I intend on using this to convert that drive, and that would be a really great test to see how it works, because um, I'm going to back up the data first, obviously, just in case, using my conventional backup methods. Or maybe I might even use the Backupper program. We'll see. But I want to back that up and actually get it uh, fixed and see if we can actually do that using that option. But yeah, so there's some definitely nice things. I tried to use the Windows to Go creator, but you do need a large enough of a drive, at least 13 gigabytes, if I remember correctly. And my two USB sticks that I have are only 8, so I have to get either another one or empty the contents of my USB hard drive that I have, because you can use that. And I can see how this works. I do know it takes a Windows ISO file. So if you take any of the Windows installation disks from Windows 7, 8, and 10, you can just drop that right onto this bar here, and it will actually take that, and I guess it extracts the WIM file, and it would actually put that onto the USB stick, so you can use it as a bootable operating system, and almost like a computer on a stick if you think of it. You can keep the whole operating system and take it with you from point to point and bring all of your files with you on it. It's kind of a neat idea. I've done that before with Linux on Linux live CDs and stuff like that, and I've even done it with Linux USB sticks, and it seems like that works really well. So I can imagine this would work just as well. So we'll definitely do maybe a video on that on its own once I get a larger drive. And migrate OS to SSD. I just did that in the last video. Now we'll have to play around with this one day too, because I'm going to have to do quite a few of those. So this is definitely going to come in handy. I can't think of anything off the top of my head right now that I would want to test out on this video, though, honestly. They do have a nice tutorial section, which is good. And yeah, well, I mean, it's just a real quick overview of what I wanted to actually talk about in this. I actually had another viewer comment on a video about trying to do the whole dynamic back to basic, and he was looking for a program. So I actually emailed him about it and mentioned it, because I said this would actually be a pretty neat program to do it with. Now there is, well, one thing that I could think of that I haven't seen off the top of my head, that at least I couldn't remember seeing, is how you can load or save VHD, which are virtual hard drives. You can do that in here, right here, create VHD and attach, where you can actually use another program maybe to take an image, so you can take the entire contents of a hard drive and just make one image out of it and put it on another hard drive maybe, or whatnot, and catalog them. Or you can make a smaller virtual drive, and everything, it's like almost like a zipped folder. When you're done, everything just stays in this one single file that opens up to be a big folder, much like a regular hard drive would be. And I don't see an option here to do that. So that'd be the one thing I think that this could benefit from having, I suppose. But the rest of it, there are some very, very nice features to this, even for the free program part. And all these options that are grayed out, just because I don't have a partition selected. See, now I can go in here and do a lot of these other things, which is nice. And again, the pro ones, I want to play with the partition alignment, see what that does for us. And all these devices here are all hard drives. There's two 2 terabyte, one 4 terabyte, and one 1 terabyte. And then the main hard drive here is a 256 gigabyte SSD. Most of them are SATA. One of them is USB 3.0. That's the big drive here. And this drive here is the M.2 format, which actually this SSD just clips directly into the motherboard. It's a little chip. So it's nice that, obviously it works with all these different devices, which is nice, on all those different connections. And I'm able to do any of this stuff here. So that's really going to cover it for now. I do anticipate in doing more, so pay attention to upcoming videos. If you're already a subscriber and you don't have that bell icon clicked, click the bell icon next to the subscribe button so you get the notifications for this channel. That way you'll see what's coming out next. And I'm going to go on and do the other videos, so you should go check that out one as well. Thanks for watching, guys. We will see you next time. And by the way, there'll be links in the description below if you're interested in this program. Thanks again.